The more things change.
Well,
Exactly.
here we go with another Hot Air Sports podcast, and we've got a seemingly familiar face joining us, Aaron. How's your week been anyway?
Yeah, my week's been pretty good, Macca, actually. The reason we watch sport is to see things we've never seen before. And this week I saw something I've never seen before. I don't think my father saw, my grandfather or my great-grandfather. Crazy week of sport, mate. But who's this?
Quite
Who's
right.
this?
Who's this rooster below us? Well, it's none other than my good mate, Jason Pine. I've known you for nearly 30 years now, fella. Broadcasting school, 1992.
It's certainly aging us both, Goose. Yeah, we're I don't know. I had a heck of a lot more hair back then than I have now, but certainly I had a bit more. But gee, what a pleasure to join you two guys to talk a bit of sport. Looking forward to it.
Quite right. And of course, what my good mate Mahona is referring to is the unbelievable scenes at the Hawthorns the other day.
Yeah, incredible stuff. Goalkeeper scoring a goal is something you don't see very often. And you see goalkeepers go up for corners and free kicks a lot, don't you? And I mean, you remember that 1999 Champions League final when United 1-0 down against Bayern. Peter Schmeichel went up, didn't get the ball, but sort of made a nuisance of himself. That often happens. But for Alisson Becker to, get on the end of it, and it's a bloody good header.
Yeah.
I think any outfield player's proud of that header, flashes into the net, gives Liverpool the win in the 95th minute, and all of a sudden they're back in the Champions League race. Incredible.
Absolutely. And we've missed your dulcet tones on the wireless for a while now.
Oh, have we what? Honestly, even my wife's starting to miss you, Piney. I mean, honestly, man, I Radio Sport was the soundtrack to my life. My kids had it, listened to it all the time. And then it just, after COVID, it just stopped. And I shed a tear. For when the Radio Sport stopped, especially when COVID hit, because, we didn't have anything to do.
Yeah.
So, it was just a tough time. And hopefully you're coming back, mate. You're coming back in another guise, maybe.
Yeah, well, we're looking to fill the gap. And I say I've been lucky enough to be handed an opportunity to start up a new nationwide sports radio network called SENZ, which is due to hit New Zealand radios and online platforms, hopefully at the back end of June, with a launch date to be confirmed. So, yeah, I mean, there certainly has been a hole there. And I think you're right. I mean, after COVID or during COVID, I think we all needed a bit of distraction. And in everyday life, sport provides us with that. So the inability to be able to do that in terms of broadcasting it and having people listen to it and interact with it was tough. And a lot of great people were left, without a microphone. But yeah, I think we're on a good path to bringing that back. And I hope that everybody enjoys what we plan to bring them.
Oh, I'm sure we will, mate. I'm sure we will. So since the button was pushed on Radio Sport and everybody went off the air within an hour of us finding out about it, what have you been up to since then?
Well, I stayed on with the parent company of Radio Sport NZME and transitioned across to a role with News Talk ZB. So I was very lucky to retain a role, and I am grateful to NZME for that, because, as I say, a lot of really good broadcasters lost their jobs that day, and almost all of them have gone on to other things, and some in broadcasting, some not, which is great. We keep in close touch with one another. So I sat on at ZB, and there was no Sky work, obviously, with the Wellington Phoenix based in Wollongong. The Sky budget didn't extend to international flights. Not that I could have taken them anyway, of course, with the bubble not open. So yeah, and as I say, recently given the opportunity with SENZ, where I've just started as in the very grand position of content director, which I think means that you make sure that everybody gets their coffee order correct and is able to fulfil their on-air obligations. That's what I'm basing it on anyway.
Oh, well, look, I'm sure we could syndicate the Hot Air Sports podcast
Yes.
to pop onto the airwaves at maybe 3:00 in the morning or something like that.
Yeah, we'll get your people to speak to our people, okay? Because it's well above our pay grade.
Of course it is. Our managers and agents can work out the detail.
Yeah, that's right.
Quite right. But yeah, that 3:00 in the morning spot would be good, I think. Yeah. Getting back to the football, and we've gone all over Alisson Becker's goal, but the Champions League spots are starting to look a little clearer. There's still 3 teams fighting for 2 spots. How do you think it's going to end up, Piney?
Well, I mean, the Liverpool fan in me obviously hopes that Liverpool claim one of them. I've had a brief look at the maths, and I've listened to a lot of far more passionate Liverpool supporters than I, and it seems to me as though if Liverpool can win on the weekend at Crystal Palace or against Crystal Palace, then that should be enough, provided Leicester don't absolutely hammer Tottenham. Have I got that right?
Yeah, I think so. Yep. If we win against Palace, we're through. If both teams won the same season, they'll finish on the same points. By my calculations, the Foxes need to win by at least 5 against Spurs if we beat Palace by 1-0. So pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so unlikely. So, yeah, Liverpool appear to be in the box set, and we think we can probably write Chelsea in there, right, as the other team. The two Manchester clubs, Chelsea, and hopefully, well, from our point of view anyway, Liverpool.
Yeah, I was listening to Jamie Redknapp and Micah Richards were on Sky Sports yesterday after the games finished, and they sort of thought that Chelsea might actually have a very difficult game away at Aston Villa and could struggle to actually make that top 4. It was interesting to hear their comments. And just a wee side note too for that Leicester Spurs game. Spurs are only ahead of Arsenal by 1 point. And neither of those North London clubs will want to finish below the other.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of it's one of those things with football, isn't it? It's like you talk to any Sheffield Wednesday fan when they were in the same division as Sheffield United, and they didn't actually care if they got relegated as long as they won the derbies. Yeah. You know, some of the rivalries just run so deep, and I think North London's a bit like that too. You're right. Yeah, Tottenham 59 points, Arsenal 58 points. Yeah, I mean, even though the Champions League is out of reach for these sides, they certainly don't want to give the other half of North London the bragging rights over the next few months.
You've got to give West Ham some credit. They've had a wonderful season, haven't they?
Incredible, really. You know, a lot of people, you know, we all make our predictions at the start of the season, don't we, as to who will finish where. And I don't think anybody had West Ham in the top 6. I think a lot of people had them in the sort of the relegation places, if not just above that. And they've had a wonderful time of things. You have to give it to them. You know, teams do this. There's always a surprise, right? There's always a team that does a West Ham or last season did a Burnley, those sorts of things, you know, that you don't expect. And this is what, you know, what makes football so great, that we can look at a table and see West Ham above Tottenham, above Everton, above Arsenal, 3 far more well-credentialed clubs, and yet the Hammers are probably going to finish above all of them.
Yeah, and David Moyes wouldn't be surprised, though, because he's a serial winner. He told everyone about that. He predicted this. He said, no, I'm a winner. This will happen. I think, you know, while Liverpool have definitely struggled, we've struggled. Sheffield United have struggled without our fans. I think West Ham have actually benefited by not having their fans there. They've been very, very, shall we say, rather salty at their team over the last few years and their performances. And I think them not being there has sort of let the handbrake off a little bit for the West Ham team. So I think they've done very well. Also picking up those Czechoslovakian players, Czechoslovakian, show my age there, the Czech players, Souček and Buffal, they've both played really well this season. Don't think anyone saw them playing so well. So well done to West Ham. They'll be playing in the UEFA Conference League, won't they?
Yes.
I think they're in the Europa League, aren't they?
Yeah, they are at the moment, but it'll be between them and Tottenham, I think. And I don't think Tottenham really want to be in that league. So they'll probably, even if they get it, they'll probably give it up to West Ham, won't they?
Yeah, the problem with getting into those leagues is that you often find yourself in a situation where you've got to start playing again almost immediately after the Premier League season finishes in far-flung places across Europe. So difficult, really. And I think it was Burnley, actually, who got caught up in that. And then their league form really suffered. So, you know, what much as you want to play in Europe and have these opportunities to play in these competitions, sometimes it can actually be a bit of there can be a negative impact on your league form.
Absolutely. The same thing happened with Leicester. And the same thing happened actually with Liverpool back when we nearly won the league in 2014. We didn't have any European championships to play in then. So, I mean, that's half the reason why they said, well, we could go to the training ground, you know, do extra training, do extra tactics, all that sort of stuff. And Brendan Rodgers nearly took us to the title because of that, didn't he? So, yeah, it definitely helps, I think, if you're not in Europe, especially if you've got a smaller squad as well.
Before we move on from the European places, I just want to remind Aaron of something I said, possibly about two and a half months ago. How's Leicester doing, Aaron?
Leicester, Yeah, no, they'll be fine, mate. They'll be fine. They always fall off a cliff. Hey, look, they won the FA Cup. Don't forget that. They won the FA Cup, okay? So they're doing okay. And before look, can we just go back a little bit to the Alisson Becker goal, because I'm still not over it. I probably won't be for the rest of my life. Is it now time? Because one thing I did notice is that Trent went over to take the corner on the left-hand side. Now, he's been taking them on the right-hand side all season. We've been trying these outswinging corners all season. We've got Robbo on the left and we've got Trent on the right. For some reason, they decided to put Trent in, and we tried the in-swinging corner, and it worked. More of that, please. Also, now that we've seen that goalkeepers can score goals with headers, there's another thing that they're always doing that never seems to happen. This bloody draft thing that they do on the wall. Whenever there's a wall, there's a guy lying down. Yeah. I've never seen anyone hit the guy. Why do they do that? It's time to get rid of it, unless it actually works. Maybe we'll see it this weekend. Who knows? But
well, we've seen former Liverpool players Coutinho and Suarez both score free kicks when the ball's gone under the wall.
Yes, beforehand we have. But that was before anyone knew that people could do that.
Yeah.
And so now they don't jump very high, you know? But the guy lying down, we had Thiago lying down. He's the smallest guy. Why wouldn't you have the tallest guy? You know,
it's humiliating too, isn't it?
It
that you're such a poor defender in set piece situations that the best use of you is lying down behind the defensive wall. What a humiliation!
It's so wrong. So yeah, maybe we'll see someone hit one of those draft things in the next little while. But in swinging, out swinging corners, you guys agree with that?
Absolutely.
What have you been doing?
I mean, in the mix, they say in the mixer. Sorry, Goose. They say in the mixer, don't they? And that's where it goes. Often the outswinger though keeps it away from the goalkeeper, so I can see both sides. But certainly they got it right on the weekend. Yeah.
Well, West Brom scored their goal against West Ham with an in-swinging corner.
Exactly.
So we've seen plenty of those. You mentioned Thiago there playing the role of lying down behind the wall.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I think
what a game.
Liverpool fans, we've really finally seen the best of him these last few weeks, haven't we?
Oh, what a player, mate. The guy, you and I from the start, we said he's going to be great for Liverpool. He took a little while to get into it. You remember that first half that he played, was it against Chelsea? And he made about 5,000 passes. And he was just like, wow. And then he got injured. He's been injured a lot. And it's taken a little while for him to get the pace of the Premier League and get up to a speed with the way Liverpool play. But my God, the guy can play. Can you imagine playing him in like a five-a-side? You just never get the ball off the guy. He's just so annoying. He's just such a good player and such a great passer. I just absolutely love him. I'm surprised he didn't score that goal, actually. Missed the post by about a foot. Yeah. Normally, he's so technically good at that. No, man, I just love him as a player. I just think we got real lucky to getting him. Real lucky, if you ask me.
Anything to add, Piney?
I don't know. I can only add to the enthusiasm that Aaron showed there. It's just, he's been terrific. And I am really looking forward to seeing what happens when the new Premier League season rolls around and more of the same, please. Yeah,
Henderson and Fabinho and him in the midfield. Ooh,
nice.
Tasty. Have you seen Liverpool's new Roma kit that they released last night?
With the orange, with the peach. It's got peach. It's got peach-coloured sleeves. And what is Nike doing? Why do they do this? Actually, not as bad though. Have you seen the rumoured Tottenham one for next year? No wonder Harry Kane's leaving. It looks like. I can't even explain. It looks like the Fijian Rugby 7 second strip. That's what it looks like. It's got all these diamonds and it's horrible. Nike, what are you doing?
The thing about those strips as well is that they have to go through, I presume, several layers of approval. Right, they come concepts, and then they say, okay, we'll quite like that one. So then they, I guess, manufacture a prototype. Yeah, that's not bad. So it's not as though someone just sneaked it through. Some of these kits, how do they even get to the point where they are a thing? They should be left on the concept table.
Absolutely, the worst one is the Man United. Is it the third one this year? The zebra stripes. My God, that is just horrendous. It shouldn't be worn to bed. Let alone a stadium or play football in it. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible.
Oh, dear. Anyway, now talking about a bit of salt in the wounds. Old Fat Sam's been at it this week, Piney. Good old Big Sam Allardyce has been mouthing off a bit since the side got relegated.
Yeah, he's I'm not quite sure how I regard Sam Allardyce. Obviously, he's a survivor and a name that clubs often go to either try and get themselves promoted or to avoid relegation, which he's spectacularly failed to do on this occasion. At some point, you have to say, don't you, that guys like Sam Allardyce, right, we are just not going to consider him anymore. He has had his day and brought, success to a number of different clubs that he's been at. Success. And I needed to have the inverted commas when I said that. Relative success. But I don't know if clubs sack a manager and, Sam Allardyce is the kind of name who always gets thrown around as a possible replacement, I wonder whether his day might be done. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, the revolutionary formation he put out against Liverpool, the 8-2-0 formation, he came out and said after that game that playing long ball football and getting in behind was the way to beat Liverpool. And then 4 days later, when they play West Ham and Michail Antonio says they're just a long ball team, and he goes, "That's a load of crap." What is it, Sam?
Yeah, he was going on how great his tactics were, but he still lost the game. Sorry, Sam. That's what happened. And then he said, we're not just a long ball team. We played completely different today. We played that way against Liverpool. I played different all the time, but you still lost. I'm sorry. I mean, you look at the scoreboard, mate, you still lost. Cheerio, you won't be missed. Maybe go and coach. The thing is, they offered him the job for next year. He could have been the manager of West Brom next year. But so I suppose you have to give him some credit that at least he sort of said, okay, well, maybe a younger guy needs to take over. But he still wants to be the putter out of fires, doesn't he, for the Premier League? When there's a team near Christmas, it's at the bottom of the league, he wants to get the job for 6 months, and then he can take a holiday at the end of the year for another year and get all his money. And, that's what he does. Why you would consider him as a Premier League team? I mean, I guess it's the same reason you consider Jose Mourinho for much more money.
Yeah, it's the name, isn't it? It's the name, and you're right. Yeah. It's like Roma hadn't seen Mourinho for the last 5 years. Absolutely bizarre appointment, right?
Yeah, they don't get the Premier League in Italy. They don't.
They're just it's like blacked out.
It's just like they just remember the glory days of Jose. They're celebrating him now. I bet you there'll be effigies of him in about a year. I mean, that's just the way he works. So. Yeah, those guys, I mean, Sven-Goran Eriksson was another one. The guy that just kept on getting another job and another job and another job and never had success anywhere and just, he's got another job. And it's like, my gosh, I mean, these guys are so lucky, so lucky.
That's the thing, they sign 5-year deals and 18 months into them, more often than not, they're gone. So the club's up for 3.5 years of severance pay.
Well, the clubs are stupid.
It's financial mismanagement. It's just appalling, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's terrible, mate. But
it was interesting to read the other day where before the Leicester-Chelsea game, the papers were all saying that if Leicester had won that game against Chelsea and Chelsea had missed out on Champions League football, Tuchel was gone. Yeah,
that's right. And a week beforehand, when they'd beaten Manchester City, and they were, looked odds on for Europe, and they looked, he was the greatest manager ever. And now he's going to get a knock on the door from Roman saying, excuse me, son, out the door. I mean, terrible run of results, 2 losses in a row, just unforgivable. But you know what? Not surprising. I think football showed its hand in this regard when Claudio Ranieri was sacked by Leicester. Only a few months after guiding them to the most unlikely Premier League title of all time. Football has shown its hand. The instant gratification mentality that goes around is just, it's just incredible from the outside looking in. What other business would be like that? That if you had a couple of down months in a row, you sack your sales manager. Yeah. You talk to them about how things are going. I was going to say radio. Case in point, maybe, Liverpool. Fans this year complaining when Liverpool lost a few games that we should get rid of Klopp. I mean, give me a break. We were just like... it's mate, I don't know. I just fail me. Sometimes words fail me. What about Leicester winning the FA Cup, though? We're going to talk a bit about that. First time in their history. The scenes at the final whistle was what really gave... I mean, obviously, there was that great goal from Tielemans, but the scenes at the final whistle when they ran the owner out there and threw him up in the air, and he had a great time as well. I just could not see the Glazers or John Henry doing the same thing with us, could he? I mean, what did you make of those celebrations? I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was, and I mean, obviously the Leicester club is different from the likes of Liverpool, Manchester United. Yes, they're still owned by very, very rich men for the most part, but it seems as though the owners of Leicester have worked out that Leicester is more than just a way of making money for them, that they are part of the wider community, that they're important to the people of Leicester, to the fans, and therefore have become popular as a result. I think also the fact that Leicester weren't part of the ill-fated European Super League proposal helped as well. Even though they were quite within their rights to request entry, given the way they've been playing this season.
Well, definitely better than Spurs, aren't
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. I thought it was neat. I thought it was great, and it was hard not to feel a real fondness for the whole club in those scenes on the pitch. I love the crowd too, having the crowd there. I mean, that goal went in, just that guttural roar. I mean, you can't get that off a mixing desk, right? You got to have people
exactly.
In the
and the bit with the crowd, the bit with the crowd that amused me the most was when Chelsea thought they'd scored and all their fans were, yeah, oh no, we didn't. Oh shit. Oh, okay, well, bye. That was the great. I mean, that is so brilliant. I mean, just seeing crowds back at the game was fantastic. Even in Wembley, when you've got like 100,000 and there's only 20,000, my God, they made some noise, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They made up for it. That's for sure.
Yeah, and you mentioned Tielemans' goal. It just brought back some memories of some of the other great FA Cup final goals, didn't it?
Yeah, mate. Tielemans' final, it'll be cool from now on, won't it? We've got the Gerrard final. The other two that I thought of, the other two goals, when I thought that goal was the Matteo goal, of course, for Chelsea, really early on in that FA Cup final. And Norman Whiteside's goal all those years ago. I mean, I don't really like bringing up him too much because of who he played for, but, that was a great goal. And I do remember that cup final as well. So you guys remember any other great solo goals?
Oh, Ricky Villa.
And still Ricky Villa. Yeah, incredible. Yeah.
That was just an amazing goal. They actually had, in the section at half-time, they actually showed their 10 greatest FA Cup final goals, and there was some absolute screamers amongst those. And Gerrard's was number one.
Of course it was.
Yeah. My favourite FA Cup final goal, though, is still Keith Houchin's diving header for Coventry City against Tottenham.
1987?
1987.
I've got a couple of friends that were at that game that followed Coventry all the way through and when they made it through to the final, and he still talks about it to this day like it's the greatest moment of his life. I mean, if you were a Cov fan, it was,
Absolutely right. And just, a diving header in a cup final. I mean, jeepers, we've all done that in the backyard, haven't we? And, for Houchin to do it on the hallowed turf, incredible. Yeah, still my favourite FA Cup final goal.
Awesome. Quite right. Another manager that's heading for the exit is a former Liverpool one. Good old 73-year-old Roy Hodgson. He's hanging up the tie and going to spend more time with the family. He's another manager that's had a lot of different jobs. You go back to the 80s and 90s where he managed in Sweden and Italy and Spain too, I think, as well. And he's as much as he didn't do a great job at Liverpool, he has had some success over the years, taking Fulham to the UEFA Cup final back in the mid-2000s.
I think he's sort of a bit of a grandfatherly figure, isn't he? He wasn't well loved by England fans after, I can't even remember what tournament it was when he was at the helm and they exited earlier than perhaps everybody would have liked. Nice to see the Crystal Palace fans give him a nice ovation, though. I think it was their final home game, wasn't it, the other day? And look, at 73, you don't want the stress of being a Premier League manager. My God, go and enjoy yourself, Roy.
Bob said that there's absolutely no way in hell he'll be managing football at age 73.
Exactly.
No. The thing is with Roy, I mean, you can say coaches coach for generation. He's coached for generations. He's done it multiple times at international level, club level. I hated him when he was at Liverpool. Didn't like him at all. But you have to give the guy credit for just being a survivor, I mean, and he's always played reasonable football. He's not your Sam Allardyce. He tries to get it down on the ground and play it. He's never had the greatest players at Crystal Palace, but they've always finished mid-table. So you've got to give him, give him his dues. I think my favourite moment is probably when he was at the World Cup for England and pretty cruel edit, I think. They cut to him when something was happening on the field, and he was obviously talking to his manager, but he was out of camera, and he was like, he just looked like a muppet, like rubbling on at nothing, and it just looked ridiculous. And they were going, "What's Roy doing?" And no, Roy, it was just a terrible edit, but my God, it was amusing. It was a real sort of Ron Bassett sort of England manager moment for me.
Mike Bassett, yeah.
Mike Bassett, thank you. Mike Bassett.
Roy Bassett. What frustrated me most at Liverpool was, the calibre of players he brought in.
He recruited, yeah.
Those great player, great names to roll off the tongue, Konchesky, Paulson, Jovanovic, just all household names somewhere. And the look on the sideline from Roy when Liverpool were behind, and it was sort of as if to say, I've got no idea what I'm doing.
Yes, but I'll stroke my chin and maybe nobody will notice.
Exactly.
So yes, anyway, all the best to Roy. And, we'll see what, hopefully he'll stay away from football now and spend time with his family. You've deserved it after, I think I saw the other day, he's managed over 5 decades now.
Yeah, that's just nuts, eh?
Incredible.
Yeah.
England team for the Euros is going to be named next week. Who makes it? Who misses out? There's... I'd love to see the likes of Foden, Grealish, and Maddison in that midfield.
You know who the manager of England is, eh?
Yes,
yeah. He's not going to pick them, mate.
Is Jordan Henderson going to make a late bid to be fit? And the big question, I think, for all Liverpool fans is, will Trent Alexander-Arnold be picked?
Well, Gareth Southgate loves a right back, doesn't he? He picks a few of them in his squads, and you look at I guess would Kyle Walker be the number one right back at the moment?
For him?
Yeah, for Southgate he probably is.
Yep.
And he's got Chilwell,
yep.
and he also obviously he's still got Trippier in that mix as well.
Yeah, and Reece James.
Oh, another one.
And Wan-Bissaka, if you need him. I mean,
so Trent Alexander-Arnold. I mean, we as Liverpool fans and the Trent Alexander-Arnold of last season, of course, is one of the first names you put down. Obviously, he was left out, controversially, of that recent squad. I think Foden absolutely must go.
Yeah. Must start. Go. He must start.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, you're right. I mean, not talking about the 23. You're right, Aaron. In the 11, has to be there. I mean, what a player. My God. Just once in a generation, kind of stuff, really. And for me, he simply must be in that starting 11. So, yeah, he's on the plane. Henderson, I think, I think if he's fit, he goes, doesn't he?
Oh, he has to. I think to have that steady hand in the middle of the park. I mean, who else is going to play that role?
Well, they've got they've got other players to play that role. They've got the guy from Leeds, who's not bad, and they've got Declan Rice. Yep, Declan Rice as well. I don't know. I don't know whether I would take Henderson. I mean, he hasn't played the end of the season, hasn't got any minutes under his belt. I mean, yeah, he'd be definitely handy, but I just don't think if he's played. I mean, you don't want to make that mistake. You got to have everyone ready and fighting fit and ready to go. I don't think Maddison will make it. I think he's sort of slumped down the order a little bit. I think you've got to pick Grealish. I mean, Grealish is like Foden. I mean, maybe he's a guy for off the bench, but I mean, Foden definitely starts. I'm fine with that one. I mean, Foden in this last 3 or 4 months has looked like a young, I don't know, Lionel Messi almost. I mean, I know that's maybe hyperbole, but the guy with the ball at his feet, he just looks so natural and just so, I mean, it just makes me sick thinking about how much Manchester City success they're going to have with him in the midfield over the next decade. But he has to start, and Grealish has to go as well. I mean, you've got enough defensive midfielders there. You've got to have another player that can run with the ball, keep the ball at his feet, and worry the opposition. And then you've got the wing situation where you've got Sterling and you've got Rashford, and then you've got the up front where, it's so many players. How do you fit them all in? That's really going to be the difficulty. I hope he doesn't take Trent Alexander-Arnold for Liverpool's sake, but he'd be mad not to. Absolutely mad not to.
Yeah, I think I read a really good article in The Independent. Was it last week or the week before? It was written by Melissa Reddy, who is a very good football writer. And she said that she saw glimpses of Paul Gascoigne and Phil Foden. Just the way, his ball-playing ability.
I hope she meant on the field.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, who knows what they got up to do in Iceland, eh?
Yeah, but yes, she saw a lot of similarities between old Gazza on the field with Foden. So yeah, hell of a player.
Yeah,
and it's exciting. It is a good team. You know, you look at as you say, the options we've talked about, and obviously Harry Kane's going to lead the line. You know, with Sterling, who's been a little bit off his best, but is still a terrific player. I mean, Joe, I really like the idea of Rice, Grealish, and Foden in midfield. Man, that kind of makes you feel quite excited, doesn't it? Rashford's there, Mason Mount. Let's not forget him. He's another guy who will definitely be there. And just on the Henderson thing, I'd take Henderson because what you don't want in your 23-man squad is numbers, and I'm not saying he would be, but numbers 20 through 23 being disrupted, knowing they're probably not going to get a game. I mean, if Jordan Henderson, even if he doesn't get a game, he would be a positive influence around the squad, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty good call. What about someone like Mason Greenwood? Would you have him on the side in the last month or so? He's scored a few goals. He's young. He's a comer. But will he get enough game time over there?
Yeah, and that's it. There's always going to be guys who aren't going to get games. To take the keepers out, you know, your number one keeper is going to play most of the game. So let's take it down to a squad of 20. Of those 20, you'd think maybe 3 or 4 probably aren't going to play. But you still got to take cover in all of these positions, don't you? So Greenwood, yeah, maybe he might be one who fills even a greater role than that. But Southgate must be delighted with the choice he's got. And you know what? England could win the Euros. That's the thing. They could,
but they could also lose to Scotland.
Correct. And I see the English press have already given Scotland all of the fodder they need to put up on their dressing room walls. You know, talking about the Scottish squad as no names,
zero chance, and
all that stuff. All that. I saw a headline: Akai the Who. You know, who are these guys?
Oh, that's great. Yeah. But the thing is, the Scottish side actually looks quite handy. I mean, they've got some good players. Yeah. I mean, so who's to say? And I think that's the third game for Scotland as well. They play the other two teams first, so they'll sort of know what they have to do for that last game. And I don't know, man. You got to watch out for those sweaty socks. They can creep up on you.
Quite right. Just very quickly, we've heard that Harry Kane is definitely going to leave Spurs or wants to leave Spurs.
Definitely.
Where do you think he'll end up?
I think he'll end up at Spurs because no one's got any money to buy him. I mean, how much? Daniel Levy will want 150 million, probably minimum. Who's got 150 million to pay? And especially okay, does that mean that someone like Haaland will be out of the picture? If you pick up Haaland, you've got him for a decade. You pick up Harry Kane, you guarantee. But I don't know. Does that mean you're out of the market for Haaland if he goes to City? Does that mean they're not going to get Haaland? Maybe they'll get them both. I don't know. But to me, I just don't know who's going to afford him.
I think it'll depend. Could it depend on where Kylian Mbappe ends up? If he leaves PSG, they're going to have a big wad of cash, and Kane loves Pochettino.
Kane's not going to go to PSG, mate. He wants the Premier League goal-scoring record. He's not going to go overseas. I cannot see. And maybe Spain at a pinch, but I just think he wants to stay in England. I think that's...
So if that's the case, then there's only a limited number of
City
suitors,
and United.
Yeah, City and United. I mean, I can't see him. I can't see him going. We won't go to Arsenal. I think we can probably put a line through Arsenal. Liverpool, I would imagine, would not be in the market for. So yeah, it's one of the Manchester clubs. And it's and maybe Chelsea. Maybe
Chelsea, Tottenham. I don't know if he transferred to Chelsea.
He doesn't seem like a Tuchel kind of player either to me. No. More likely to end up at one of the Manchester clubs. But I think you're right, Aaron. He may well just stay at Spurs. He might just stay at Spurs.
What are they going? They're not going to sell him for nothing.
No, you're right. They'll want to make a lot of money on him. And as you say, who's got the cash to splash?
Yeah.
Getting a bit closer to home.
Harry
have lost. Harry. Phoenix have lost skipper Ulysses Davila and midfielder Cam Devlin to other A-League clubs, but have secured the services of 3 youngsters in Ollie Sale, Clayton Lewis, and Ben Wayne, who I see has knocked back interest from Coventry.
Yeah, wow. I mean, the second part of this first, that's a great piece of business by Wellington Phoenix to keep hold of Ben Wayne. My oil is that he was very, very close to signing with Coventry. They put a good deal in front of him, championship club. He would have gone over there, I mean, it doesn't always work. We know that for New Zealand kids going over to Europe, but he's got a bit about him, Ben Wayne. So good piece of business for the Phoenix to keep him here for 3 years. He may not be here 3 years, but if he does leave after 2, transfer fee. A good piece of business, a homegrown player who's come through their academy. Lewis, delighted for the kid. He was a guy who went to England for Scunthorpe, didn't really play, lost his way a little bit, came home, played for Auckland City, took up a 1-year deal with the Phoenix, and has proven himself to be a really good A-League player. So 2 more years for him. And Ollie Sale, the guys had, interest from other A-League clubs and further afield. He played 7 games in his first 3 seasons at Wellington. Probably thought that he was going to be sitting on the bench again this season with Marinovic again, the preferred number 1. But when he got his opportunity, talk about grabbing it with both hands. So great for Ollie Sale. De Villa, massive loss, but you can't blame a guy for
Where's he gone?
He's gone to MacArthur FC, have put a $2 million 3-year deal in front of him. Who's going to turn that down?
Yeah,
not many players are able to. Devlin is not quite gone yet. I understand that he has got a couple of good deals in front of him and hasn't re-signed with Wellington, but he'd be another guy who would be a loss to the club and has enhanced his reputation by coming here, getting regular game time, and which he didn't get at Sydney FC, and showing what he can do. So so De Villa, almost 100%. Confident to say that he is gone. Devlin, I think, is more than likely also to depart. But a good spine being built, particularly with young Kiwi kids, and that's what I think Phoenix fans like to see. They like to see opportunities given to Kiwis. If it's a choice between a Kiwi player and an Australian player, and they're of relatively similar ability, then you pick the Kiwi every time, don't you?
Absolutely.
You have to. Yeah.
Just starting to feel you're losing De Villa, and we've seen it before, losing other top names. I sort of have an understanding of how a Southampton or West Ham fan must feel.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the Phoenix have never been a team that competes in the marquee landscape. They don't throw big money at players. Even De Villa. Melbourne Victory, Sydney FC, and Melbourne City all wanted him as well, and couldn't match what MacArthur FC have thrown on the table. So, what chance do Wellington have? A conservative ownership group by nature. Who, as I say, haven't splashed the cash in a big way for any player in their history, really. So, look, if this is it for Ulysses Davila, which it sounds like it is, then I think we say, look, it was great to have you here. And I think really, he was a guy who was at Chelsea, he didn't make the first team, bounced around a few leagues and a few clubs, came to Wellington, and in the last 2 seasons has earned himself that deal. The life of a footballer can be a roller coaster, and for him to play like he has for Wellington these last couple of years, I don't think there'll be too many fans, and will be disappointed, of course, but won't begrudge him taking the money.
Is he actually out of contract?
Yes.
He is out of contract, so we're not going to
deal. So unfortunately, no fee available there. Also, we're hearing that he may not play again this season with that hamstring injury. Certainly won't play at the weekend against Western United. They'll travel back to Western Sydney midweek and then back to Auckland for the Perth game. He won't play in either of those. There's a possibility, ironically enough, he might play against MacArthur in the final game of the regular season, which if Wellington don't make the finals, that would be their last game of the season. So, we keep our fingers crossed we haven't seen the last of De Villa in a Phoenix shirt. But if we have, then I think you look back on an incredible highlights reel and a guy who was a big part of the fabric of the club.
Absolutely.
Just looking back over, you've mentioned the fact that we haven't splashed the cash a lot over the years. And you actually look back on some of the names that we did splash some cash on, the likes of Carlos Hernandez, Guy Finkler, you could even say Costa Barbarouses. None of them have actually really worked out for us, have they?
Yeah, great point, Goose. Absolutely right, and maybe that has solidified the owner's intent not to do that anymore. You're right; they paid a lot of money for Costa, and he didn't even last the length of the contract. Great player and has done really well, but just his wife is from Australia. He's very much at home there, and it's worked out for him. But you're right. Finkler never really delivered. Hernandez was an utter disruption within the squad, so much so that the leadership group just about took him out the back and kicked his head in. And players who have come relatively unheralded, like De Villa, had any of us ever heard of him? I don't think we had, and yet they probably got him for a pretty good price, and he delivered in spades. So, and guys like Matty Steinman, even Mandy, and others as well, who have come and haven't really been known before they got to Wellington, but Talay and before him Rudan have turned them into pretty decent players.
And I'm guessing the hardcore British fan or English fan would have known a bit about Paul Eiffel, but he was pretty much unheralded when he came here. And
I had to Google him. Yeah.
Look at those two who, came from a good background and were just absolutely superstars in a Phoenix shirt.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, what a player.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and what a, I mean, continues to play, still playing for Wairarapa United. He's 40. He's nearly 41. Goodness me.
There's hope for us yet.
Yes.
Quick look at the table. Phoenix 3 points outside the 6, although Brisbane have got a game in hand. So it's going to be a tough road ahead with 4-5 games remaining.
Yeah, it'll look, it's so tight. It's just so tight. And yeah, I mean, if the Phoenix win their remaining 4 games, they'll get to 40 points. And the games are winnable. I mean, they're in a short space of time, Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday, but all winnable. Western United, I think, is a not negotiable win if they're to harbour, true aspirations. Go back to Western Sydney, try and win there, and then Perth on Sunday. So, and then Macarthur, the final game. All winnable games. 40 points should be enough. But can they get the 12 points? That's the big thing.
Well, they're playing well enough, aren't they? I mean, yeah. I love the style they're playing this season. Again, I watched them the other day. I mean, they are a little bit frustrating at the back, but my God, when they're going forward, they're a great team to watch. They really are playing some good football. And 3-3, it's just one of those results. You're just like, oh.
Yeah.
But no, man, it's great. I mean, look, whenever I find them on the telly, I enjoy watching them. And I can't say that I've always enjoyed watching the Phoenix. So there you go.
Quite right. Well, moving to the oval ball now, Rugby Union. This Silver Lake deal won't go away, will it, Piney? With New Zealand Rugby and the Players Association still in an impasse. We've finally heard from some big names in the game here. It's Sir Steve Hansen, Richie McCaw, and Conrad Smith have all come out imploring the two parties to get together. What's
happening? Give us some oil, Piney. What do you know?
Well, that's the thing about it is New Zealand Rugby and the New Zealand Rugby Players Association seem to be moving with every day further apart rather than closer together. And I think, as you say, that's why the likes, well, I don't know whether it's been a manufactured thing that McCaw and Conrad Smith and others have voiced their views. But surely New Zealand Rugby and the Players Association should have worked that out by themselves, that they need to be working more closely together. Yeah. And yes, we know negotiations in all walks of life are fraught with difficulty and not negotiables, and people not wanting to give too much or trying to take more than perhaps the other party thinks they should get. I mean, regardless of the deals that are on the table, this relationship cannot be allowed to break down any further. No. Somehow, Mark Robinson and Rob Nicol have to find a way to bring their organisations back together rather than apart. And the fact that it's been, in some parts played out in the media has been unfortunate as well. We hope, of course, that these discussions are going on behind closed doors and that they are trying to find a way, but they need to happily coexist, these two organisations. And at the moment, that just doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah, I think the reason that it's being played out in the media is because either side is thinking the other one isn't listening to them. Yeah. So they're going to the media and saying, well, this is what's going on. And everyone's going, what's going on? And they're going, well, here's a little bit of what's going on. And then it all blows up. I just think, look, there's a whole pot of money sitting there that can be used for a bunch of great things, but they just need to understand and work out exactly what those great things are. The players it sounds to me like the players are on the right path. They're saying this money needs to be invested in grassroots. We need to protect our game and the head honcho. This is just me reading the media, no inside knowledge. And it sounds to me like New Zealand Rugby itself is saying we need the money to do what we need to do with it. They are not really being too transparent about what they want to do with the money. So it seems to me like they're thinking about the top of the pyramid and the players are thinking about the bottom of the pyramid. And I'm with the players. You have to, as a member of the public and who loves the game. It's the layer that needs the money. It needs infrastructure. It needs club support. It's just done on a smell of an oily rag and volunteers at the moment. They need money. So get together and sort it out for the sake of our national game. It's just ridiculous. Getting angry now.
And it's just, as you say, Piney, it's not a good look for the two major bodies involved in our national sport to be so far apart or warring, if in fact you want to call it that.
Yeah, it's not unusual. right? I mean, if you look at unions, they don't always get on with employers, right? And that's effectively what we're talking about here, because, the Players Association represents the players, the professional players of New Zealand. Of course they do. And Rob Nichols' job is to get the best possible outcome for those players, with also a regard to the wider game, whereas New Zealand Rugby is in charge of not only the All Blacks and Super Rugby, but the entire game in our country. And Aaron's dead right. The bottom of the pyramid is really suffering. You only have to look at the declining numbers, player numbers, coming through, and the fact that you walk into a rugby club now. Do you remember what it was like when I was growing up? You couldn't get into Tawa Rugby Club half the time. You couldn't get in. You couldn't get in.
You'd have to wait an hour for a beer, mate.
Exactly. Now you could fire a pass down the middle of Tawa Rugby Club. It wouldn't hit anybody. So that's New Zealand Rugby have a wider responsibility, but they know that the All Blacks and the Super Rugby teams are so important to the profile of the game and the success of it, and attracting those sponsors. So, I wouldn't want to be, in New Zealand Rugby's shoes at all, because they have so many, if we want to use the phrase, stakeholders, whereas Rob Nichol has just the one, and that's the professional players.
That's really well put, actually. That's a really good perspective on it, that, they are looking at a way bigger picture, but are they? I think that's the question that all of us, that's what they should be doing, but are they looking at the big picture? I just hope when they finally make that decision that they are. Oh,
absolutely. And it's got to, even the guys on the breakdown, the show on Sky on a Monday night, all of them in total agreement that none of this new money should be put into the professional game. I mean, it's pretty much self-funding at the moment, and they're doing all right. It's just as we've all talked about, it's the grassroots level that is really suffering. Tell you who else is suffering? That's the Aussie teams and the Super Rugby Trans-Tasman.
We talked about this last week, didn't we, mate? We talked about this last week, and we were saying, the odds are pretty good for the Aussie teams.
I actually put money on the Reds, thinking that that they would beat the Highlanders. I mean, they're paying $3.50 head to head.
That's not a bad price.
Yeah, I thought,
a good team too. Well, supposedly,
a good team. But you see when the team list comes out, they're saying they're missing 6 or 7 from the final the week before. And actually, when you look at the results, it was the teams that had played in finals the previous weeks that really were below par.
Suffered.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you look at the results, and I mean, I did particularly enjoy the defence optional approach taken by the Waratahs and the Hurricanes. I don't think there was a tackle put in all night in that game. I was surprised. I mean, the Rebels are obviously not a very good team, and for the Blues, the Blues have been good, obviously, but to have 50 put on them, I felt a bit for the Brumbies, actually. I'm no fan of the Crusaders, obviously, but I thought the Brumbies were, they gave a really good account of themselves in that game, and but for that missed sideline conversion at the end, would have taken something out of the game. So, look, I just hope that it doesn't become as one-sided as it appears it may be after week one of the Trans-Tasman, because it's going to lose its appeal very, very quickly. I mean, we loved Super Rugby Aotearoa. Loved it. Loved the physicality and the tight tussles and the exciting finishes. Are we going to get that in Trans-Tasman? Not so sure.
Well, I'm hoping that this week we'll see improved, especially 15s lining up for the likes of the Reds and the Brumbies, who both did rest players, even though the Brumbies did get so close to the Crusaders.
Especially if you've got money on it, Macca? Because
exactly.
That's not fair. Change the side.
I'll be heading along to the stadium to watch the Hurricanes and Rebels, so that should be interesting. And some good game in Brisbane this weekend with the Reds playing host to the Crusaders, so that could be a crucial game.
Looking forward to it. I mean, there seems to be some, well, you hope anyway, some perhaps slightly closer games in prospect. I wouldn't imagine the Hurricanes should have too many problems with the Rebels. As I say, they look like a bit of a rabble to me. Highlanders over in the Rebels. Highlanders over in Perth, aren't they? Blues at home to the Waratahs. Hopefully that'll be a good game. Chiefs Brumbies could be good too if the Brumbies continue that form. And as you say, Reds Crusaders on the face of it should also be a good game. So we could have a Super Saturday.
Super Saturday.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Super stuff.
Super Saturday.
Okay.
I reckon that's a bit of a shut up, Kenneth.
Shut up.
Former captain and number 8, Kieran Reid, has called time on his professional career. Where does he stack up in the great All Black discussion?
You're asking, okay, well, I'll start. I mean, also, it's just come out today, been revealed that he got COVID in Japan, which is very interesting. Very, interesting from Kieran Reid there. Where does he come as far as great All Blacks? I don't think he's a great All Black. I think he's a very good All Black. He showed so much potential early in his career. I thought this guy could be anything when he first burst onto the scene, and then they sort of started playing him more on the tight, especially when he was ranging out on the wing. He scored some great tries early on, and then he just sort of, especially when Richie McCaw retired, he sort of took it upon himself to be more of a physical sort of presence in the pack, and I think he sacrificed his own game somewhat for that. Not everyone can be Richie, and but I think he's been a very good All Black. Maybe if we had won the World Cup last time, we could have considered him a potential great All Black. But a very, very good player. I mean, he played over 100 tests, didn't he? So, I mean, very, very handy player. And obviously he had a lot of injuries as well. So, and head injuries, I don't think helped him either. So, yeah. Kieran Reid, very good All Black. I wouldn't say he's a great All Black, though.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? When you talk about if you sit down, as we all do, and write down our best All Black 15s of all time, when you come to number 8, you go to a guy like Buck Shelford first, don't you? Or Murray Mexted. It was in Zambrook.
Yeah.
Whereas Reid's played by my stats here 127 Test matches,
which is probably all 3 of them added up.
Correct. But he just doesn't. I mean, hard though to be the guy who takes over the captaincy from Richie McCaw. That was always going to be difficult. He was never going to be seen in the same light as a guy like McCaw, who was always in that number 7 discussion. You know, some people, like other players like Michael Jones, obviously, but McCaw's probably always going to be the 7 that you settle on. I don't think Reid is really ever the number 8 you settle on. That doesn't say he hasn't had a big impact and has been a big part. I mean, if you play 127 Test matches across over a decade, then you've had an impact on the All Blacks jersey. But for some reason, he just wasn't always universally adored by New Zealand rugby fans. And I'm not sure why that is, but that's just the way that it feels.
I think it's the toothpaste ads. He just didn't show enough of himself. He should have just been a little bit more Kieran rather than, just that corporate thing. Yeah.
You're suggesting a Chemist Warehouse campaign might be better for Kieran Reid.
Absolutely.
Lads, I've got some work to do on football, so I'm going to have to take my leave now. But
thank you so much.
Such a pleasure talking to you both, and I look forward to doing it again soon.
Absolutely. Beautiful. We'll definitely get back on the Hot Air Sports podcast. All the very best with the new project.
Yeah, looking forward to hearing you.
To listening, and as I say, Hot Air Sports podcast for that 3 a.m. spot.
Well, I'll write it down. And I'll get my people to talk to your people.
That's all you can do. Beautiful, Piney. Great talking to you, buddy.
Take it easy, guys. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wonderful discussion there with the great man, Jason Pine. And just moving on, continuing with rugby, I've got my All Black backs selections here.
Oh, can I go first this week?
You go first.
Yay! I can go first. Okay, hang on. Okay, so we're going to start. We start with the halfback. Let's start with our halfback, shall we?
Let's go.
I don't think there's too much argument about this one. My halfback's Aaron Smith. No. He's just been in super form this year. Probably career best form, I would suggest. I mean, I haven't seen him do it for the All Blacks yet, but for the Highlanders, he's just in absolutely tremendous form. So he's definitely my number 1. My number 2 would be Brad Weber. I love this guy. I think he should have been in the All Blacks a long time ago, and he's definitely my number 2. Number 3 is an interesting one, isn't it? You got TJ Perenara. Is he still sniffing around?
Well, he only needs to play 1 game, apparently, whether that be for the Hurricanes or the Wellington Lions.
Is that right?
Be eligible.
Okay. Well, I'd probably put Triple T in there. Maybe slightly ahead of Mitchell Drummond. I'm not sure. One of those two, just slightly ahead of TJ Perenara because I haven't really seen him play. So probably I'll go for the Triple T for my third halfback if we've got a third halfback spot there. First 5, Richie Mo'unga is my first 5. Lay down, best first 5 in the country by a mile, if you ask me. In second place, I'll probably put as a backup first 5. I mean, you've got Bowden. If Bowden's there, you'd have him definitely, but he can cover a number of positions. I'll probably still have Damien McKenzie as well as your backup, sort of maybe third first 5 because he covers so many positions and he's played a number of first 5, even though even though maybe he's been playing, a bit of fullback as well. So, yeah, Damien McKenzie's definitely in there at first five. Richie, Damien, you've got Bowden. Damien and Bowden can cover multiple positions. And then just behind those, I've got Mitchell Hunt and Terry Black as backups if anyone gets injured. Second five, I've got Anton Leonard-Brown as my number one second five. Backup with Dave. Maybe could David Avili play second five, you reckon?
Well, that's where he's been playing for the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Jack Good, who got injured. So, and he's been playing really well there.
Yeah, he has. Would you think he can make the All Blacks as a second five, though? I mean, he's only...
Absolutely, I've picked him. Yeah.
You have? Okay, well, there you go. So David Avili, Anton Leonard-Brown. Anton Leonard-Brown's obviously my number one guy. I love him. And maybe Geordie Barrett to cover second five if needed. And then you got your wings. My left wing, I've gone Whainganuku as my left wing if he's eligible. If he's not Fijian.
He's eligible.
He's eligible. Okay, good stuff. I've got Rico Ioane and George Bridge as maybe just behind him. So maybe that's a bit out of the blue, but I love that Whainganuku. Right wing, I've got Geordie Barrett on the right wing as my number one right wing with Sevu Reece and Will Jordan covering for him. And centre, Anton Leonard-Brown, got Rico, and Whainganuku can cover there as well, can't he? So he's a good guy to have in the team. And for my fullback, I've gone Geordie Barrett first equal with Will Jordan. I mean, Will Jordan I absolutely love. He'd be perfect off the bench. Once again, covers multiple positions, as does Geordie Barrett, as does Damien McKenzie. So I think you've got 3 built-in fullbacks when you've picked your fullback in your first 5 anyway. So Damien McKenzie, Geordie Barrett, and Will Jordan. And if you pick David Avili as the second 5, he can play fullback too, can't you? So you've got plenty of options at fullback. That's my team.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you what, we're...
Are they pretty similar?
We're very similar.
Okay.
Just thought I'd mention that not available are, of course, Caleb Clark, who's chosen to go down the Olympics route with the Sevens.
Yep.
And also Jack Goodhue, who's out.
Yep, injured.
Horror injury. Halfbacks, Aaron Smith, Brad Weber. I've named Perinara because I think he'll probably play a local game before he become eligible. First 5, Richie Mo'unga, Bowden Barrett, Damien McKenzie were the 3 I've named. Midfielders, Anton Leonard-Brown, David Havili, and Rico Ioane. I've also named Nani Laumapi in there, even though he's going off overseas. I just think he gives them extra cover in those midfield positions. But after you mentioned it, I'd forgotten that Geordie Barrett could also play in those roles as well. Outside backs, I've named Geordie Barrett, Will Jordan, Sevu Reece, George Bridge, and a surprise one in there. I've gone for the man who destroyed the Chiefs earlier on in the year in Super Rugby Aotearoa, and that is Jonah Nareki from the Highlanders, who apparently is eligible for the All Blacks as well. So,
well, he's got the right Christian name.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, there's as some of those other names that you mentioned, there's a few outliers that could quite easily come in. Peter Umaga Jensen from the Hurricanes, who hasn't had such a great run this year. He's had little knocks and injuries that have kept him out of some games. But he's I've seen all the Hurricanes games, and he's played pretty well in all of them when he's been on the park. So
I'll tell you what, mate, when we're going through those backline names, it's absolutely amazing to see how many guys, obviously except for the halfbacks, how many guys can fit into multiple positions for the All Blacks, eh? They're going to be well stocked in every position, regardless of who they pick, really.
Oh, absolutely. I'm actually picking David Havili in my starting lineup. I've got him at 12 and Leonard-Brown at 13. Even though I know Anton probably prefers.
He would prefer.
He's a very good 12. I think he's also a very good 13. He reminds me a lot, going back a number of years now, of Bruce Robertson.
He is a little bit like that. He's got those lovely dancing feet, doesn't he? He's got a lot of power, but a bit of subtlety to his game as well, doesn't he? That's what I like about Anton Leonard-Brown. He's just he's so good in defence as well. I mean, he's so if you play him at centre, no one's getting through there, don't you? So
that's my starting midfield. First 5, Richie Mo'unga, hands down. Aaron Smith at halfback. Outside backs are where it gets a little more difficult. I'm plugging for Will Jordan in the number 15 jersey.
Yeah.
I'm going to have George Bridge on the left wing and Geordie Barrett on the right wing. And as you said, Damien McKenzie coming off the bench. You could actually have Bowden Barrett and Damien McKenzie on the bench.
Yeah, you could.
Because
3 fullbacks.
The ability of other players like Geordie Barrett. If a midfielder goes down, he can move in there, and Barrett and Bowden can come on to fullback and Jordan to wing. So there's so
many options, eh? Yeah. No, the All Blacks, at least on paper, they're looking very, very strong this year, aren't they, mate?
Quite right. On to the other oval ball code, and there was a bit of magic in Brisbane.
Magic round. It's magic round. Yeah, man, it was a big success. Large crowds, lots of points, exciting games, but all the talk of Magic Round was all about the referees and the cards and the high shots and the red cards, and he's off. And oh God!
I don't know whether you saw the back page during the week, but Tony Squires, the host of that great Australian show, he said it was a magic round in more ways than one because players were disappearing left, right, and centre.
Yeah, they were. The referees were doing their best to play the role of the magician, that's for sure. But the thing is, look, rugby's done this for a while, going back, they just said, look, any contact to the head, they're off. And I've always thought, look, you just got to make amendments for people falling. I think they're just trying to get the balance right here. I think obviously the week before there were some high shots. They've tried to sort of say, right, we're going to draw a line in the sand. And I think it's a period of adjustment. I really do. I think what we probably need to do is bring back a 5-minute sin bin, maybe have a 5-minute sin bin for less brutal tackles. But at the same time, the players have got to get it right, man. Yeah. It's almost like they've been told, no, you can't do this. And they're just like a petulant child. They've been told no. So they're like, oh, I want to try it. It's almost like they've been told the rule and now they can't stop themselves. All you need to do is don't hit a guy in the mush, And some of them, I would say 80 to 90% of them, I couldn't argue with. They were just high shots, smacked straight in the mush. And if you've been warned, you got to deal with the consequences. I did notice, though, which was very interesting, that there were no sin bins or send-offs in the Warriors game. Isn't that a surprise? Roger Tuivasa-Sheck hits head high a couple of times and gets up because he's such a tough man. And they go, oh, well, he didn't fall out on the ground. Just play the ball. You're a Kiwi.
Just in referring to the crackdown of the high shots, Robert Crash Craddock, the head sports editor for the Brisbane Sun Herald. No, not Sun. I can't remember.
Courier Mail, maybe. Or
Courier Mail, yeah. Yep. He was saying that over the weekend, over the Magic Round, he was talking to Brad Thorne, who had come along to one of the games. And
what did Brad say?
And apparently, according to Crash, they were talking about this, and Brad Thorne just straight answer back to Crash Craddock was, oh, mate, we've had to put up with this in rugby for years now.
Look, never was a problem with me. I've spoken like this since I was a child.
Someone hit him in the throat a few times, I think. Oh, Brad. But, mate, the players have just got to get it right. The referees have got to make some adjustments. I think it'll all even itself out in the end. Of course, the Warriors lost to the Eels in the Magic Round. They dropped out of the 8 after 10 rounds. It was a game of two halves for me. We started really poorly. We were down 24-0. It was just like we're no way back. And
that's a turnaround from previous weeks, isn't it?
Mate,
starting well and finishing poorly.
Exactly. Can we just get a consistent 80-minute performance? First 5 rounds or so, we were so consistent. We had a completion rate of about 80 to 90%. These last few games, I know we're playing teams that are slightly better, but just a bit of consistency will change our game. And all the talk is, of course, Reece Walsh. He came on the field and made a real big difference. And it looks just great, this guy. Been talking about him before he played for the Warriors. You heard it here first on the Hot Air Sports podcast. This boy was going to be a star. He's already a star after 3 games. He has to start. And he was actually named on a bench for this weekend's game tonight's game against the Tigers. But late mail in, the Warriors have dumped Kim Malmalo out of the side for this week's game. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck is shifting to the wing, and Reece James is going to start at fullback. Reece Walsh, sorry, is going to start at fullback.
I thought the Chelsea winger had made a
He probably wouldn't be a bad fullback. He's got a bit of pace. He's got the cornrows and everything as well. Could be hark back to Henry Farfeli days. But there you go. So that's really interesting that Reece Walsh is going to start at fullback. I've dumped Kim Amalo out of the squad. I've been quite critical of him over the last couple of weeks, so I'm not too upset about that. I think that's actually a good move. And Reece Walsh at fullback, bring it on. Bring on those Tigers. Looking forward to it.
Saw some interesting comments during the week from Warriors coach Nathan Brown about young Reece Walsh, saying that, yes, he is going to be an absolutely great player and he's a very good player now. And questions, from fans saying, why isn't he starting every week? And as Nathan Brown said, the kid is 18 years old and he wants him to still be playing, for another 12, 13 years. If he's starting every game at age 18, where's he going to be in 7, 8, 9 years?
Yeah, it's fairly typical though, isn't it? I mean, as a fan, you see a player, he should be playing every single minute. He should be, but it's like, I guess what it is, Nathan Brown's only been a supporter of the Warriors for a couple of years. Yeah. I mean, I've been a supporter of the Warriors for 25 years. This guy's so exciting. Most exciting thing I've seen in a decade at the Warriors. Of course you want him to start every game. We understand this, Mr. Brown, but this guy's super exciting. Yeah. And as a Warriors fan, we've been starved from those sort of players for so long. We want to see this guy play. And I completely understand. Look, Nathan Brown knows that the main problem he's going to have with Reece Walsh is just keeping a lid on it. And I think that's basically it. The guy's going to be a star. He's so young. He's still got very raw, still got a lot to learn. Yeah. But yeah, he's right. You just try and bring it down a bit. That's his only job as coach, really. Pick him in the team and then don't talk him up too much. Would be, Yeah. The Warriors have decided they're going to remain in Australia for the remainder of the season as well, which is an interesting call from our chief executive. His exact words, I did write them down somewhere. If you bear with me here for a second. He said, this is Cameron George, CEO of the Warriors, said it was the goal to come back to New Zealand, but it's clear that there's still too much uncertainty and risk involved with the COVID-19 situation. We saw a pause in the bubble just 2 weeks ago after a case in Sydney, and that really served as another reminder of how unstable things are. While we wanted to come home, our priority has always been to ensure that we look after the players and their family. And I mean, to me, as much as I want to see the Warriors in New Zealand, my God, I want to see them over here. I want to go back to Mount Smart Stadium and see my boys play. I mean, they are making the right decision. You and I have basically said from the start, any of this sort of international travel shouldn't be happening, really. Yeah. Just wait until everyone's vaccinated, wait until it's all safe. If they feel safer doing it that way, I think, good on them. What do you think about that?
Oh, I agree totally. Yeah. Yes, it's great that I'm going to go and get to see the Phoenix play tomorrow, but they've got to jump on a plane, go back to Australia to play a midweek game, and then they're back on another plane to play at Eden Park next weekend. I mean, it's just having not done any international travel for well over a year. I just think and especially as Piney was saying, these are a big 4 or 5 games if the Phoenix want to make finals football, and it's got to start with the game against Western United. So I see the Breakers are back for a few games, although they are staying here for a few games. They're not going backwards and forwards. So, I haven't actually seen how they got on in their first game back, but
I'll talk about that at the end. I've got a little bit of stuff about that. I watched them last night. So good to see them back and they were back at their original home stadium of the Trust Arena. Yeah, cool, man. Take
Auckland, which looked interesting.
That's cool, man. Take it back to the suburbs, so to speak. Yeah. I think it's great. I think it would have been different if they had said to the Warriors, right, you can travel back to New Zealand and you can play the rest of the games in New Zealand. That's a completely different situation. Traveling back and forward every week, though, I just still think, man, we've still got a global pandemic. Not everyone's vaccinated. There's new strains coming all the time. Can we just dial it down a bit? If our team's still playing over there, they're safe and everything, their families are safe, let's just keep them over there. You've got to think about them first. Let's just look at the table before we move on to something else. The National Rugby League table, of course. The Panthers sit atop still, unbeaten on 20 points. What a team they are. They absolutely cleaned up on the weekend, a 50-point win against the poor old Cowboys. The Eels are on 18. They're just tucked in just behind. The Eels that beat us so impressively. And then you've got the Storm and the Rabbitohs on 16. That's the top four. And they are probably, looking at it with the Roosters, they are definitely the top 5 sides. The Roosters tucked in just behind on 14 points. So those 5 have now got a 4-point gap ahead of the rest of the field. You've got to think that those are the top 5. Then there's going to be 3 places for the rest of the field. And at the moment, 6, 7, and 8 are the Dragons, Seagulls, and Cowboys, all on 10 points. The Seagulls are comers. They've won their last 4. And then you've got a big logjam with Warriors amongst it. Raiders, Titans, Warriors, Knights, all on 8 points. So, it's going to be a struggle for the rest of the season, mate. We just have to get on with it, win tonight, get a couple of points. We'll be back up the table. We're still in with a shot. The biggest game of this round, though, Rabbits versus Panthers. That should be an absolutely awesome game on Sunday, and they're playing it at 1:30 p.m. In Australia. It'll be bloody hot over there. It'll be a hard, fast track. Latrell Mitchell is back for the Bunnies, and I'm really, really looking forward to this game. I think the Bunnies could give the Panthers their first real game of the year. I'm really looking forward to this. So
interesting to see. And before we head stateside on another sport,
mate.
They announced this week the All Blacks schedule for the tests against Fiji and was it Tonga? And I see they're going to be playing one test at Mount Smart Stadium, which is an interesting call given all the fuss over retaining Eden Park as, the number 1 rugby stadium in the country. No, we don't want a waterfront stadium. We want to play all our rugby at Eden Park. Oh, but we'll play the Fijians at Mount Smart. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I don't really know. I mean, maybe they're just thinking that, I don't know. Maybe the crowd will, there's been nothing at Mount Smart for so long. Was there did they bid for the game? How was that decision made? Do you know?
Well, judging by what the guys on the breakdown were saying, it's purely been taken to South Auckland because that's where the Pacific Islanders live.
But they don't mind travelling to Eden Park. They never have before. So, yeah, it's an interesting one, mate. Interesting one. They do like it out at Penrose Park, though. They really do. The South Auckland crowd, when they get out there, they do tend to make quite a bit of noise and wave quite a few flags. So, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think they were looking back at the crowd for that
Tonga game
at Mount Smart a couple of years back, and I think they all the accountants at New Zealand Rugby thought, oh, yeah, we could cash in on that.
Let's get a bit of that. For sure. Shall we move stateside, mate, to your game, baseball?
Yes.
Play ball.
Right.
What's been happening? This is 2021 no-hitter. The year of the no-hitter.
Year of the no-hitter. There's 2 more this week.
Unbelievable.
Spencer Turnbull against the Mariners and the mighty New York Yankees, Corey Kluber against the Texas Rangers, both throwing no-nos. There's 6 already this year, and the season's not even completed 2 months, which is incredible when you think that the most in any other season in Major League Baseball history is 8.
Yeah, well, you told me when we first started talking about this about a month or so ago, you said to me, oh, no, they only happen maybe 4 or 5 times a season.
Yeah.
We've had more than that in the last month. And, it's just crazy because, in the last couple of years, it's all been about home runs, and now it's about no-hitters. I'm a little bit confused as to, are the pitchers on top? I mean, it's still guys are still hitting home runs, right? But maybe they're getting out because they're trying to hit home runs. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. The no-run situation is definitely related to it because players are being. It seems to be in their heads now that it's home run or nothing. Whereas in the last couple of games between the Yankees and the Rangers, they have been playing what purists would call proper baseball, and that's just putting the ball in play and running the bases and scoring runs that way, not just waiting for Aaron Judge or Joey Gallo or one of those big boppers to just stand up there
and out of the park.
Many people that have been in baseball for a number of years, I mean, when I was over there in 2018, I was lucky enough to talk to former Yankees manager Joe Torre, and he just does not like the new way of baseball. too many strikeouts, too many home runs, too many power pitches. You know, if you're not throwing it in the upper 90s, as Dale said last week, if you're not throwing in the upper 90s, you're not really worth your salt. And then comes along a guy like Corey Kluber, whose fastball tops out at about 93 miles an hour, and the bulk of his pitches are in the high 80s, you know, and he throws a no-hitter.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's great, though. I think it's cool that there's an anomaly that can still, you know, isn't it? That's what's so great about baseball. You never quite know. And you can go to and you never, it's like, you've got the potential to see an Alison Becker goal every time you go to the baseball diamond, something that you've never ever seen, and the potential of that happening is great. The potential in baseball of seeing something you've never seen before on television at every single game is great because there's just so many variables.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just been an incredible year, and I mean, two or three of the pitchers that have thrown no hitters this year are just absolute nobodies. You know, nobody outside of Detroit's probably heard of Spencer Turnbull before.
And then I heard, did he play again yesterday? And I think he got the worst result from and after a no hitter. I think is this the guy? I think I was watching SportsCenter last night, and they said he's got. I think he was out of the game in 3 innings, and he gave up like about 7 or 8 hits. And they said that's the worst result ever from a pitcher who previously pitched a no-hitter.
Worst comeback.
yeah, crazy, eh? Crazy.
Oh,
so
it
just shows you have a really good day, and then the next day the next time you pitch can be just completely crap.
Oh, absolutely, and yeah, that happens on a number of occasions. I've seen guys over the years throw a perfect game, so that's 27 up, 27 down, and then come out 4 or 5 days later and be absolutely smashed.
Yeah.
I mean, another example of that was just this week with the Yankees. Garrett Cole pitched an absolute perler against Tampa Bay a week ago, only gave up 2 hits and a masterful performance. And then first game up against Texas, he was out of the game after 5 innings. It's going to happen. But yeah, quick look at the standings. Boston still holding on to the lead in the American League East. Tampa are half a game back, and New York Yankees 1 game back, and Toronto are even only 1.5 games back. So that's 4 teams within 1.5 games of each other.
That's what you want.
Oh, absolutely. Can't see Boston holding on. They just don't have much squad depth this year, so it'd be interesting to see how they go. And the other 3, I not really sure how that'll end up. White Sox holding a 2.5 game lead in the Central above Cleveland. In the West, Houston Astros have climbed to the top of that. They're a half a game ahead of Oakland A's, and Seattle, who had the early lead in that division, have fallen away and are 5 games back. In the National League, the New York Mets are leading the way in the East, just a game ahead of the Phillies, and Atlanta 3 games back. St. Louis Cardinals, they're leading the way in the Central, 3 games ahead of Chicago Cubs, and Milwaukee Brewers a further game back. In the West, we all expected the Dodgers to be flying away with this division. They're in third. They're 2.5 games behind leaders San Francisco Giants, with San Diego Padres sandwiched in the middle. 2.5 games separating those, then a big gap right back to the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are 10 games back. And then... Oh,
they're in a tough division, aren't they, the Diamondbacks?
They certainly are. Who we got? The worst team in baseball at the moment is Minnesota Twins, which is just unbelievable given the roster they've got. They're 14-28, and followed very closely by the Colorado Rockies, who are 15-29. So bit of work to do. 6 weeks into the season, 7 weeks into the season. Last week we talked about Albert Pujols.
Yeah, news on Albert Pujols, and we were talking about him like he might be coming to the Tuatara. He hasn't gone to the Tuatara. He's gone to the World Series champions. What's going on?
Yeah, he's gone up the freeway from Anaheim to Dodger Stadium. So he's now in a Dodgers uniform, and it'll be interesting to see how he goes. I mean, given the fact that he's being paid by the Angels for the rest of the season, the Dodgers, it's pretty much a free free pass
Pretty
for
good.
them, not costing them anything. And I'm sure having Albert in the lineup will attract a few more fans at Dodger Stadium. It's not like they don't need it.
Yeah. What do you think of that trade, though, Mac? I mean, I know it seems a no-brainer for LA, but I mean, do they really need him?
Well, given that they're a National League side and the pitcher bats, probably not great sense. He's going to have to play in the field. And really the only place he's going to play is first base because it doesn't require a lot of movement. It requires a lot of flexibility to be able to pick up those balls coming in from the infield and outfield. But, I thought if he was going to get picked up, it'd be by an American League club, so he could just be designated hitter. But I guess, as I said, it's not costing them anything, so they've got nothing to lose by.
The other thing I saw in baseball was this guy, I can't quite pronounce his name, this Japanese fella, Anoho, who hits home runs and pitches.
Yep.
He's leading the home run chase. He's hit 14 home runs. And this home run that he hit the other day was about up by his head. You see that home run?
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. It was so high, and he still hit it out of the ground. He is a freak, man. I've never seen a guy hit and pitch like this.
Yeah, well, he one of his games recently, he pitched 7 innings, and then once he got pulled from pitching, he went and stood in the outfield.
What's the guy's name? Just to clarify.
Ohtani.
Oh, that's the guy, Ohtani.
Yeah,
just a most exciting thing in baseball. They're saying at the moment. I mean, he looks amazing.
Yeah, he's incredible talent. Came out of Japan, and the Angels picked him up, and he's been unfortunately
amazing.
His first year he spent mostly on the injury table, but this year he's really just been unbelievable, both pitching and hitting. And,
I've never seen anyone. Well, I mean, I don't watch a hell of a lot of baseball, but I mean, I can't remember ever seeing a pitcher hit this well.
Well, no, and you're going back to Babe Ruth.
There you go.
Boston, when he was pitching and hitting. The baseball's not seen a player like Ohtani for long
generations. Yeah, crazy.
Lots of generations.
So what about the Kiwis? How are they getting on in baseball, mate, at the moment?
Yeah, well, Kyle Glogowski, he's gone back to AA after filling in at AAA for a game or two as an injury fill-in. So he's back at the Reading Fighting Phils in AA, and he's had a couple of good performances on the mound over the last week or so. So he's starting to regain his confidence, and he'll be looking to log some big innings to consolidate his place amongst the list of Phillies prospects. Ben Thompson has been doing very well at Low A Augusta Green Jackets, another great name. They're an affiliate of the Atlanta Braves, and he's pitched in 4 games so far and has picked up his first win the other day. He's only given up 5 hits and thrown 10 innings. No earned runs, no walks, and he struck out 10 hitters over those 10 innings. So Ben Thompson going really well, and I'm really pleased that the Braves have stuck with him, especially after the fact there was no minor league baseball last year. And it's really good, and he's obviously throwing pretty well because when you look at the stats, they don't lie.
No. Oh, it's great. It's great to hear the Kiwis are doing well over there. Let's just hope that one of them gets to the majors and we can.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah, obviously the closest one at the moment is Kyle. And if he can, I mean, he's had 2 or 3 great years in the minors so far, and hopefully he'll be able to forget his bad start the other day against for the AAA team. And hopefully he can get back on track. And I mean, pitching in AA, as Budgie said last week, is often the platform to the majors. AAA tends to be more of your journeymen that have been in the minor league system for a number of years. They play, they fill in at the major league level for injuries, play, half a dozen games a season, a dozen games a season. But your prospects, your real up-and-coming prospects are all at AA level. So, yeah, hopefully it's obvious that the Phillies rate Kyle highly. So I mean, I guess he's probably the closest that we've got to getting a Kiwi-born player in the major leagues. We've obviously had American-born players with Kiwi parentage, and John Holdscombe and one or two others. So, get a Kiwi-born boy in there would be fantastic.
Absolutely. Shall we move to another bat and ball sport?
Yes, across the Atlantic Ocean. Interesting hotel that the Black Caps are staying in Southampton. They're at the Ibis. I think it's the Ibis. At the Rose Bowl, or the GS Rose Bowl, as it is called, which is, of course, is going to be the home of the World Test Championship final. Interesting place for them to do their managed isolation.
Yeah, well, I can think of worse places. I mean, I mean, it's provided they're getting the training in and they hit the ground running. I don't really care where the hell they stay. Yeah, really. They could be staying anywhere. Just win that bloody game. That's all I care. Actually, I don't really even care about the tour. I just want that one game, one game against India. That's the one I care about most.
It was interesting a couple of days ago when they first went in there, and TVNZ News were interviewing Gary Stead, and he said that they'd been in the hotel for about an hour and switched on Sky Sports, and guess what was playing on Sky Sports an hour after they...
Oh, the World Cup final.
It was the World Cup final.
No way.
Gary Stead said he watched it for a wee while, but didn't watch the ending.
Nah, we know how it finishes. I don't think I'll ever watch the ending of that again. It's like the '89 Rugby League Grand Final. Oh, just one of those games. You cast it back in your memory, try and forget about it, and then your friends keep reminding you. Yep. It is interesting today. It's just been announced, actually, that Sky have got the World Test Championship rights. It's going to be on Sky, not on Spark Sport. Interesting. What do you make of that?
Yeah, well, Spark sort of jumped the gun a bit, didn't they, with their advertising of the English tests and the World Test Championship final.
They did.
They worded it so if you actually listen to the whole thing, they didn't say we are broadcasting the World Test Championship final, but it was all the interviews and that in and around the World Test Championship final or something like that.
We all presumed it was going to be on Spark, though, didn't we? I did.
I figured it probably was, but who knows what the IOC does with anything. So
I pay a lot of money for my Sky Sport, and it's nice that I can just hit record and it can record overnight, and I can get through in the morning and fast forward it nice and easy when I need to. So good on.
Before we get on to the next thing, I noticed that the whole team is now together in Southampton. They've obviously got all the IPL players there now, and anybody that flew over from New Zealand, and also Will Young, who's been playing county cricket.
Scoring a lot of runs.
2 centuries in a row.
Yeah, man. He's going great guns, isn't he? He's been called into the squad, and I hope he actually gets a start. We need to start thinking about who's going to be our openers for this World Championship. I mean, is Blundell going to do it? Are we going to put Conway up there? Will Young scoring runs. He's gone over there on his own, on his own bat, and basically has scored truckloads of runs in first-class cricket. And that's what you need to do. You need to score runs, put yourself in the picture, and he's doing that. And I would love to see him. And he's had a long career, He's had a long career, and he's deserved a call up before now. He's been given a couple of shots. He hasn't perhaps taken them yet. I'd love to see Will Young in the team.
And he's still as
relatively young.
He's
28, I think.
28. Yeah, he's still got a few years left in him. New Zealand Cricket have announced their latest contract offers. Daryl Mitchell and Glenn Phillips, the newcomers. Yeah,
interesting list, actually. I noticed Colin de Gronholm's still on there, which is interesting. He hasn't played cricket for a year. I think he's fairly lucky. Devon Conway, of course, got a contract as well. And Glenn Phillips, I'm glad for him. But it's quite interesting, isn't it, when they just say, here's the contract offers, that's it. And you look at these names and you think, he's only playing Test cricket. That guy's only playing one-day cricket. He's a T20 specialist. I don't really know how they decide which is the most important. But yeah, an interesting list. Very, very. When I look through this list, mate, you've got to really say how lucky we are to be living right now to see this list of players playing for the Black Caps, mate. They're ranked close to number one in tests, number one in one-day internationals, And we haven't really seen a side like this play for New Zealand ever in our lifetime. So just the depth is fantastic. The guys, I'm just incredibly stoked by that list of names, to be fair.
Yeah, a couple of names, obviously, to miss out on that one. BJ Watling, who has retired, obviously, and the World Test Championship final, if selected, of course, will be his last game. And HS Patel, an interesting name to leave off the contracts, but he is on that test squad that's in Southampton at the moment.
Well, I think he's a victim of what I just talked about, just a test guy. He doesn't probably play enough cricket for them to put it on there. I mean, they have got Ish Sodhi on there, but Ish can play all three forms.
He can.
That is a strange one. I guess there's only so many places, though. And when you look at the other bowlers they've got on there, you got Bolt. You're not going to kick him out, are you? Lockie Ferguson. You got Matt Henry. I mean, he could have been maybe, because you've got a lot of other fast bowlers. Kyle Jamieson. I'm glad for Daryl Mitchell, too. I mean, in the last year, he's really showed me he's a little bit more than a first-class player. So I'm pleased for him. And then you've got, Ish Sodhi's your spinner. Mitchell Satin is the other spinner, but of course he plays in more than one form as well. So I really think he's suffered because he only plays in the 4 and 5 day stuff.
Just quickly looking at the England side for the Test series, they've named 2 uncapped players I'd never heard of before. There's no Ben Stokes and Jofra Archer. They're both injured, as well as the IPL contingent of Chris Wokes, Joss Butler, and Sam Curran are all missing from that side as well. So a relatively inexperienced side. And Sandpaper Gate has reared its ugly head after Aussie opener Cameron Bancroft, who was one of the 3 banned after being caught red-handed with the sandpaper, has now come out in the English media claiming that the bowlers knew what he was up to, as did other players. I think we're going to hear more about this.
Really? Of course they did. Why do you think this guy has come out? Because he's the one of the 3 that hasn't made it back into the Aussie side.
Yeah.
He was the patsy. He was the scapegoat. Yep. It seemed like he was relatively, well, I don't know whether he was happy to take the fall for it back then, but he was. And now he's just told us what we already bloody knew. I noticed a couple of those guys have come out and said, we didn't know anything. We're sticking together. Absolutely nothing, mate. Where's your proof, mate? Where's your proof? No, of course they all bloody knew about it. I mean, if you've ever been in a team sport, if you've ever played a team sport, don't tell me that there's only 2 or 3 guys that are doing something like that and no one else knows about it. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. And why do you think Darren Lehman isn't the coach anymore? Let's be honest about this. I mean, yeah, there you go. So no, I think it's pretty standard. I do feel sorry for Cameron Bancroft quite a bit, actually. I mean, he's just been hung out, hasn't he? Really?
Well, he's an Aussie, so whatever.
Beautiful. Love it. We got some other stuff to talk about before we go as well.
Yep.
NBA standings. You've got the play-in tournament going on at the moment, which is fairly interesting. Have you been catching any of this?
No, I've not seen any NBA over the last week or so.
Okay, so what's going on is they're having this tournament. Where are we? I'll get it for you shortly. They're having this tournament at the moment where they basically increased the amount of wildcard teams, and the teams that lose drop in to another level. So they've basically increased the amount of wildcard teams that are involved in the tournament. I'll just bring it up here. I did have this on here before. Here we go. Here's the wildcard tournament. So overnight, last night, actually yesterday, the play-in tournament, the Pacers beat the Hornets, and the Celtics beat the Wizards. That means that the Celtics go through and the Pacers go through in the Eastern Conference, and the Wizards and the Hornets have to play each other to try and go through. The Grizzlies beat the Spurs yesterday, and the Lakers just pipped the Warriors 103-100. That was a great game. I actually caught a little bit of that, and that was basically Steph Curry and LeBron James going at it. A really, really good game. So that means that the Lakers go through and the Grizzlies go through, and the Warriors will now play the Grizzlies to see whether they can make it through to the playoffs. So the playoffs round 1 at the moment, in the Eastern Conference, you're looking at the Bucks playing the Heat, the Clippers playing the Mavericks, the Nets playing the Celtics, and the Nuggets playing the Trailblazers. And on the other side, you've got the Suns and the Lakers, the Bucks and the Heat, the Nuggets and the Trailblazers, and the Nets and the Celtics. For me, the series that you really want to watch, I'm really looking forward to the Nets and the Celtics game. The Nets are the Eastern Conference, probably the favourites to go through. They've just got so many good players. And in the West, I mean, of course, you got to look out for the Lakers. They are playing the Suns. The Lakers, hot favourites there now that LeBron and Anthony Davis are back. So really, mate, it's all going on. I quite like the idea of this play-in tournament, though, instead of just playing a wild card game where they have a couple of second chance opportunities to go through. So that's what's happening in the NBA. Also in other sports, mate, and stateside, Scott Dixon. It's looking good for the Indianapolis 5.
So far. They've completed 3 practice sessions for the Indianapolis 500, which is happening at the end of the month. Yep. And Scotty Dixon, the fastest qualifying time so far. Just another little note I picked up during the week. Paralympian javelin thrower Holly Robinson has become an avatar in a video game about the Paralympics, which has been obviously developed in Japan, given that the Paralympics are supposedly happening in Tokyo.
Yeah, they will be.
Following the Olympics. So what's been happening in the NBL, the Australian NBL?
Well, obviously the Breakers came back last night, and I watched the second half of that game. They ended a 462-day gap between home games with an 89-81 victory over the Sydney Kings last night. That improves them to 10-20 for the season. Not a good record, but there have been extenuating circumstances around that. They tried to bottle it as bad as good as they could in the last quarter. They were outscored 27-15 in the last quarter. So they really made it squeaky bum time for their fans on Kiwi soil for the first time. The playoffs are well out of reach, but they're clearly going to cause some issues to the top teams during this finishing run of 7 straight games on Kiwi soil. The first of the turned into a mismatch last night in front of a crowd. They had 3,900 there last night, mate. That was capacity crowd. That was really good, and it looked good on TV too. And the Kings are now 4th. They dropped to 15-16. They were definitely playoff bound, and we killed them. So they've got some work to do to take their anticipated spot in the postseason. Breakers out of the playoffs, but they're in New Zealand, and it was good to see them playing a home game and getting the right result too.
And they can play nuisance factor now for the next season.
Absolutely.
So, good week, bad week. What have you got for us?
Okay, good week to start with, mate. It comes in the form of a Liverpool player. Last year at this time, he was in Germany playing for Stuttgart. He's a bearded galump by the name of Nathaniel Phillips, and Nat Phillips to his mates. And I just love this guy. He's an old-fashioned defender. He puts his head where other people don't want to put their feet. And he scored his first goal for Liverpool in the past week with a 3-0 win. And what I loved is his comments afterwards, because he also made a cross off the goal line clearance. And when he was asked by the reporter afterwards, he said, "Oh, you scored your first goal and you made that goal line clearance. Which one are you most proud of?" He said, "The goal line clearance all day." Yes. He said, and I just thought that is such a typical defender's thing. I mean, he said, are you dreaming of goal line clearances at night, Nat? I mean, you must be. So yeah, he's my good week this week. I absolutely love him.
I love fellow Liverpool defender Jamie Carragher's
his quote.
If a double-decker bus drove into the Liverpool penalty area, Nathaniel Phillips would head it clear.
It's exactly right, though. It's what he does. Can you imagine if he was playing with Virgil van Dijk?
Absolutely.
I think they would be a fantastic pair, because you've got the more modern-day sort of guy that likes to take it out from the back. He's got a bit of finesse, and Van Dijk who can pass the ball. And then you've just got the big lump who likes to header it away and kick people and all that sort of stuff. I think they would make a great pair. So who knows? Maybe they will play together next week.
Another quick question for you. You think Gareth Southgate might be looking at it?
Well, if he likes a player in his own image, because Gareth was a little bit like that as well, if you ask me. He probably fancied himself as a bit more of a footballer, but he was probably a little bit of a Nat Phillips. And then my bad week has to be Thomas Tuchel at Chelsea. We talked about this earlier with with Piney after being lauded for months as the second coming of Jesus at Stamford Bridge and being in the running for the FA Cup, Champions League and qualifying for the Champions League. He may now miss out on all three and may have to avoid making eye contact with Roman during the off-season if he does, because there could be another manager in the door at Stamford Bridge. And Thomas Tuchel, after looking so good for so long, looks like just squeaky bum time for poor old Thomas at the moment too. Not a great week.
Right. Well, what a massive show it's been. Great having Piney on board, and
awesome.
We'll hopefully see him back in weeks to come. So
yeah, and maybe you'll hear the Hot Air Sports podcast at 3 a.m. on SENZ Radio as well. Make sure you hit Piney up about that.
Quite right. So, yeah, we've got a big sporting weekend ahead. I'm off to the Hurricanes Rebels and the Phoenix Western United over the next couple of days at Sky Stadium. So looking forward to that. And, of course, make sure you check us out on YouTube and Spotify. Give us a like and a follow. And, we'll be back in probably about another week's time with another Hot Air Sports podcast. So it's goodbye from me.
And it's definitely goodbye from him. We'll see you.